Spider-Man's.
Spider-Man.
He stinks, and I don't like him.
Big fan of Spider-Man.
Delicious hot schmoes.
If you're coming here to listen to me tell you whether or not this is a good or bad movie, and you're not here for spoilers, it was a good movie. Go watch the movie. Because we're talking spoilers basically this whole video. So go watch the movie, then come back, then write down in the comments what you thought about the movie. If you already saw the movie, go ahead and argue with me in the comments. Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's the latest Spider-Man movie to come to theaters, and I think that there's a lot of discourse about how good or not that good this movie is. There's a lot of people that say that this is the best live-action Spider-Man movie to have ever existed, and there's a lot of people that are just like, it's a very good Spider-Man movie, but it's not the best one. And there's a reason for that. Is this movie the best Spider-Man movie ever? No, that probably goes to the animated Spider-Man movies Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse. But of the live-action movies, this is a very, very good Spider-Man movie. In fact, this movie might be a top 2 Spider-Man movie. Potentially, depending on who you ask. But potentially. And the reason for that is because Spider-Man Brand New Day does everything that all of the other Spider-Man movies do very, very well, all in one package. But at times, that just makes it not quite as good as it could have been, because it doesn't feel quite as original. This is what I mean. Spider-Man Brand New Day has some of the best Spider-Man swinging ever. It's very, very good. A lot of it is done practically. The suit looks really, really good. The motion and the way that he swings just looks and feels like Spider-Man, and is very, very heavily influenced by the Insomniac Spider-Man games and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Which, still to this day, has the best Spider-Man swinging of all time. So it takes a lot of inspiration from this movie, but it doesn't get to quite the same levels, because the way that it's stylized just makes it look a little bit faker than The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And it just kind of feels a little bit derogatory. Not in a bad way. It's more of we're clearly taking this aspect of this movie and putting it in our movie, which is a good thing, but it doesn't feel quite as original. In this movie, Spider-Man gets organic webs. Tom Holland's Spider-Man has had his technologically created webs, just like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, for his entire first 3 movies. And in this one, he gets organic webbing. And we see a lot of similarities from the Sam Raimi movies with Tobey Maguire, especially Spider-Man 2. There's a lot of moments when Tom Holland's Spider-Man is trying to learn how to use his organic webbing that feels a lot like Spider-Man 2, when Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is dealing with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and then that also leads into Spider-Man 3, and then we see some similarities there as well. But again, it feels very similar. And so it takes these really good aspects of the film and basically just says copy and paste. Let's put it in our own movie. Which again, is both a good thing and a bad thing. The other thing that this movie takes that is very similar to the older Spider-Man movies, that some people might see as a positive and some people might see as a negative, is the fact that there's more than one villain. So similar to Spider-Man 3 or The Amazing Spider-Man 2, there's more than one villain in this movie, at least during certain sections. In this movie, we do get to see a wonderful little montage of Spider-Man cleaning up the streets and fighting against some classic Spider-Man villains. And then we do get to see him clearly refight, because we see him clean up the streets and fight Scorpion and take him out. But at a certain point, Scorpion gets released from prison, and Spider-Man fights him, 1 or 2 more times? And then Spider-Man also gets the chance to fight against, kind of. He mostly just tells Punisher to stop doing what he's doing, and he tries to not fight the Punisher, but he tries to stop the Punisher from doing what he's doing. So he's essentially fighting the Punisher. And then he's also gets to a point where he is fighting the Hulk, both as Smart Hulk with Bruce Banner inside, and as Raging Hulk, which freaking awesome. We get to see him fight that. And then at the end, we also get to see him actually fight the Hand near the end of the movie, all while he's trying to take down the actual big villain, which is Jean Grey. I told you spoilers. If you made it this far and you weren't wanting me to say that, yes, Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey, it's your fault that you got spoiled. I told you this was going to be spoilers, so not my bad. Not my bad. Not my bad. Your bad. Go watch the movie. It was good. There's a lot going on in this movie. What this movie does very well is it does kind of put these villains in very specific motives and these very specific situations that makes their appearances and their fights feel meaningful. For instance, the Scorpion the main fight with the Scorpion takes place at a moment where Tom Holland's character, Spider-Man, obviously that's who he plays, is struggling because he's going through all this change and he's trying to learn how to use his organic webbing and all that sort of stuff. So he both is struggling to be himself and to be Spider-Man, but this is a villain that he's been fighting for a long time, so he knows how to fight him. But since he's struggling, he kind of gets taken over by his arachnid DNA, and he starts to really beat down on Scorpion. Turns out, it's not Scorpion, it's actually Jean Grey, controlling Scorpion to try to get what she wants. So Scorpion plays an important role in this Spider-Man movie because it kind of shows you as a viewer what Spider-Man could be capable of if he wasn't such a nice guy. That's something that honestly, pretty much all live-action Spider-Man material has ever done is never show us the true scope of what Spider-Man is capable of. Because he is genuinely one of the most powerful, enhanced human beings in all of Marvel. But we don't really get to see that. But that's mostly because we focus on the Peter Parker side of Spider-Man. And Peter Parker's just a nice guy. Then we get to, we'll skip over Punisher because he's mostly a good guy. He's just kind of in the way of Spider-Man, so Spider-Man just has to deal with him. And the Spider-Man-Punisher relationship in this movie is both really, really good and also really, really underwhelming, simply because they do a lot of, like, talking about their history in New York, but we don't get to see any of, like, those two interacting other than in this movie. So it just kind of feels like they're spoon-feeding us lore that we didn't get to see. That would have been better if we had been able to see that, and then we get it paid off in this movie. I know, couldn't have actually done that. Kind of a terrible, impossible ask. But the dynamic between them is really good. It's really fun. And it's one of the best parts of this movie. The Hulk fight is so good.
I'm always angry.
Oh my gosh. Hulk is so underutilized in the MCU, and I know there's probably a large part of that is rights related, because I think Universal still owns the rights to Hulk. And obviously Spider-Man is Sony, and then it's an MCU movie. So I'm sure there's a lot of just weird conflict. So I know that it's probably hard for them to be able to use the Hulk all the time. But oh my gosh, Raged Out Hulk is so much fun. I love Raged Out Hulk. That fight is just so good because you get to see a proper Raged Out Hulk, and you get to see a quippy, fun, and really good Spider-Man try to fight the Hulk. And he does a very good job of being able to actually subdue the Hulk in this fight. He doesn't kill him, obviously. You're not going to kill the Hulk. but he is able to subdue the Hulk into a point where then they get to use the MacGuffin of, oh, I can talk Hulk down from a ledge, so that way he doesn't kill anybody else. Hate that MacGuffin. But it's a MacGuffin. They use it again. The fight, awesome. There's a moment where Hulk is chasing Spider-Man through a hallway. It feels and looks like Avengers 1 when Hulk is just rampaging through. I believe at that point it's the helicarrier. But when he does that, oh my gosh, it just looks so good. The visuals and the audio and everything is phenomenal. And then we have Jean Grey. Jean Grey's character is really, really interesting in this movie because she is motivated to do a bunch of bad things for a reason that she deems good, which is to find her sister. Sadie Sink probably is going to play Jean Grey in the future, and I'm happy for it. I like Sadie Sink. I think she's great, and I think she is a good cast for this character. However, I don't think this was the right way to give us a Jean Grey, except for the fact that because she is Jean Grey, she is a mutant, and because of something else that happens in this movie that I'm going to talk about here in just a second, it was the perfect way to say mutants are coming in the MCU, and it's going to affect the characters that you know and love. Sadie Sink is trying to find her sister. She does a lot of stuff to get that done. And at the end of the day, she ends up falling into a trap and she does not find her sister. She finds out that she's dead. And then she gets really mad, learns how to control her powers a little bit better, freezes at least a part of New York yet again. Sorry to the guy, by the way, who was there in 2012 when the Chitauri attacked and tore down their city, and then there in 2020 or 2019 or whatever when the blip happened and he got washed away, and then 4 years before this movie when the Thunderbolts happened and a large part of New York gets consumed in the void and then gets frozen by Jean Grey. That man needs therapy. She controls her powers. She's able to do a lot. And then, yet again, as per usual, Spider-Man comes in to save the day and talks her down from a ledge. Look, I ain't saying it's an overused and a bad plot point, but we have had so many MCU movies where the villain is essentially defeated by talking them down from a ledge. And although it's really good in this movie, and I don't think it's a bad thing, it's kind of getting old. Just saying. I loved it in the Thunderbolts. I thought it was phenomenal in the Thunderbolts. I think it's really well done in this movie. There's a couple others that I forget, but I know it happens. It just is getting a little old. Can I get like a straight up just like kill the villain? At this point, I'd be okay with you dropping them into a giant volcano. Or killing them with a bunch of ants. Sorry, and I know they don't actually kill Kang with a bunch of ants, and I wouldn't be okay with that actually because I still wish that character existed in the MCU. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. It's good. It's well done. And then Peter sacrifices himself because Punisher is trying to do everything his own way, which is the right way to do things, which is kill the bad guys. And shoots at Jean Grey from afar, and Spider-Man senses it in true Spidey fashion. He sacrifices himself, gets shot in the back, and nearly dies, saving this person that he's been trying to fight the entire movie. If that's not the most Peter Parker thing ever, I don't know what is. Because sacrificing yourself for the person you're trying to defeat, because you were able to talk to them and learn about them and understand a little bit more about who they are. Bro, there's a reason we love Peter Parker, and there's a reason that Spider-Man is the best. And it's that right there. He's just the best. No matter what iteration, Spider-Man is so good. And then I want to talk about one last thing. A really large plot point in this movie is the fact that Spider-Man's DNA is evolving. He's growing. And his arachnid DNA that gives him all his powers is becoming more and more prominent into his actual, like, I don't know, bodily functions, the best way to describe it. So his senses increase. He gets his organic webbing. He gets probably some new abilities here in a little bit. But the way that he decides to overcome this is, instead of trying to find out how he can evolve and learn about his body more, he instead tries to suppress it, just like Bruce Banner does as the Hulk. And so he creates this little device. What do they call it? An inhibitor. And he creates it in a way that makes it universal, which means no matter who you put it on, whatever powers or abilities that they may have, this little genetic suppressor, this inhibitor chip, will keep them from using their powers. He uses it on himself so that way he can still be the normal Spider-Man that he is until he learns to control his powers. He tries to use it on Bruce Banner when he loses his inhibitor, because he's being mind controlled by Jean Grey, and it doesn't work because he doesn't get it on fast enough. But he gives it to him, and then he also uses it on Jean Grey, who we know is a mutant, which means that her genetics have always been like dormant, and then they're activated by some reason, something happens, and then they have powers. And his universal chip works on her, which basically means that Spider-Man has created the inhibitor collars, at least a version of them, that are constantly used in X-Men comics, TV shows, and movies. And I think this is really important for the future of the MCU, because this gives us essentially a character who is trying to do something good and create something that can be used for absolute evil. And we just, that Marvel at some point is going to basically draw this parallel that says, Spider-Man, you created this problem for the X-Men, you should feel bad about it. Even though he's not the one that ever actually did anything bad. And I think it's a really strong parallel that they're going to be able to draw between Spider-Man and his mentor, Iron Man. Because as we know, Iron Man, trying to do the right thing, accidentally created Ultron, and accidentally did a bunch of stuff that got Thanos to come to Earth. And a lot of what happened in that saga is because Iron Man was trying to do something good that then ended up being evil, and he felt bad about it, even though it wasn't necessarily his fault. I know Ultron was kind of his fault, but I think the parallels are going to be really interesting, at least from a mental and emotional standpoint, for that to happen. I think I'm excited for the future of Spider-Man and the future of Marvel. Doomsday is going to be epic. No, Spider-Man, it was not confirmed that he's going to be in Doomsday, but that's okay, because there's so much going on in that movie already with so many characters. It's crazy. Anyway, I'm rambling. This is a long video. I hope you guys like what I talk about. Let me know if you agree, disagree, what were your favorite or least favorite parts of this movie. No, it is not my favorite Spider-Man movie. My favorite Spider-Man movie to this day is still The Amazing Spider-Man 2, even though I know that's probably the worst Spider-Man movie. It's my favorite one. I love it. And at the end of the day, they're all better than Tombstone. As we always say, Tombstone is the worst movie in the whole world. I've never seen it, and I never will. Peace.